Okay, we're live. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry for the delay. Technical issues. My laptop is like it's on its final legs. Just let me get set up. Okay, share. Come on. Ooh, the dreaded not responding. Let's just give it a bit. Come on, Chrome, catch up. Or maybe it's my laptop that needs to catch up with Chrome. Not even sure if you can hear me right now. Ah, there we go. Okay. All right. Okay, I think we're okay now. No audio? Is that really no audio? Can somebody confirm that? Because it looks to me like the audio is fine. I have to refresh the audio. Okay, and unmute the mic. Is that better? I can hear fine. Somebody said they can hear fine. I have audio now. All right. I guess it was just a bit slow. All right. Okay. So this being our 26th stream. So this is a sort of a half-year celebration, I suppose, right? I've been doing it. We started this in the beginning of Ramadan, and it's kind of hard to believe already 6 months have gone by. We've done 25 of them. This is 26. 52 weeks in a year. So we're I've done this for half a year now. So I thought I'd present something a bit more heavy this time. A bit controversial, maybe. I'm not sure how easily I'm going to be able to do this. I didn't have much time, as usual, I suppose, to make this as good as I wanted. All I did is I mainly copied over some notes from my Evernote, and I might just, basically read through them a little bit, add a bit more commentary, and anyway, we'll see how it goes. So, the title, God's Shadow, right? Probably wondering what that means. Okay, so we've got this verse, if you saw it in the description. It's in Surah Al-Furqan. It goes, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ألم تر إلى ربك كيف مد الظل. Have you not considered, or literally, ألم ترى, have you not looked إلى ربك, towards your Lord, how he has extended the shadow, how he has extended the shadow. وَلَوْ شَاءَ لَجَعَلَهُ سَاكِنًا. Okay, and if he had willed, he could have made it stationary, completely still. Okay, because shadows are never completely still. ثُمَّ جَعَلْنَا الشَّمْسَ عَلَيْهِ دَلِيلًا. Then we made the sun for it an indication or a pointer. A dalil, what you hear people talking about, what's your dalil, what's your evidence, what's your proof? It actually means, it comes from the word, pointer, dullani ala tariq, right? Point the way out to me, just point it, which way should I go? Okay, so it's like the sun is a pointer for the shadow, and you can pretty much see that, right? When the sun is behind an object, it makes the shadow point, away from the sun, and completely away from the sun on the other side of the object, right? Its shadow points away from the sun. The next next verse immediately says, ثُمَّ قَبَضْنَاهُ إِلَيْنَا قَبْضًا يَسِيرًا. Then we hold it Here I don't like the translation. I never checked, to be honest. I just copied and pasted it. It just says ثم قبضناه. Then we sort of contracted it or took it. Qabd means to sort of like to grab or contract something or bring it back. Like how when the heart contracts, it's a qabd, right? Comes in. ثم قبضناه إلينا قبضا يسيرا. And we sort of drew it into ourselves in a sort of like a easy way or smooth way or gentle way. قبضا يسيرا, right? Okay, so why am I talking about this? Well, why is the Quran talking about this? Okay, what is this about? What is a verse like this doing in the Quran? What is God saying in this? A verse in the Quran just about about the shadow, extending the shadow. What has that got to do with the Quran? Remember, it's supposed to be a zikr, right? A reminder. Zikrun lil alameen wa rahmatun lil alameen, right? And the Prophet is supposed to be a rahmatul alameen, and the Quran is supposed to be a dhikr, a reminder, and it's supposed to be for contemplation and for reflection. So, what is this about? Okay, well, you'll get to why I'm going to start talking about something which may seem like it's in a tangent now, but think of basically creation. Okay, in the beginning. Okay, if in the beginning, right, there was nothing but God, right? In the beginning, before creation, so to speak, there was nothing but God. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that God was there sort of in space. Okay, no, there was no space. There wasn't even a nothing with him. If you can sort of try to conceptualize that, it's just God, right? So there's not even a nothing with him. There isn't like a space next to him, so to speak. Okay, it's just God. So if that's all there was, just God, nothing else, not even the space outside of God, where did He create the creation? Where did God create the creation? Where does that come into being? Okay, if there's nothing but God, where does the creation come? Where does it come from? Where does it exist? Okay, even saying in this, right? In the beginning, if there was nothing but God. Even that was, right? It's a problem, right? Even saying was is a problem for God. God isn't in that was, okay, and He was never in that was, okay. He was before the was, and He isn't in the is, so to speak, that is now. Okay, is that is for us when we say is, it's like now is this, okay, and then it becomes a was, and soon and we talk about what will be. Okay, these are all like parts of our language which they can't apply to God really. Okay, they can't apply to God. So in discussing God, we need to the speaker, we need to rely on the listeners to be able to listen beyond the temporal words. Okay, we say things, we say words, okay, which come from our world, right? We use these temporal words, okay, of language and with the meaning they have in language. And you have to rely on the speaker, on the listener, okay, to hear more than that, to hear beyond that, okay? And this seeing and hearing beyond and understanding more than just the words, that are being said, that's exactly what makes us human. Okay, that's what makes us beyond even we can say the animals and stuff, they have language, right? They can hear, they can communicate in many ways, but they're never going to hear more than what is said. They're never gonna make that leap that's beyond the words to something beyond our world, greater. Okay. And look how the previous verse from this, so this verse which starts off, do you not see how your Lord extended the shadow? So it goes into that. If you look at all the verses before, it's a conversation with those who don't the dialogue that happens within the Quran between the rejectors and those of faith, etc. Okay, and then the verse just before it says, "Am tahsabu," speaking to the Prophet, "Am tahsabu anna aktharahum yasma'un aw ya'qilun?" Or do you think that most of them even hear or think? Do you think they most of them do that? No, inhum illa kal an'am. They are just like cattle. Bal adallu sabila. Rather, they are more astray. Okay, and then immediately it goes, "Alam tara ila rabbika kayfa madda dhil?" Do you not see your Lord look towards your Lord, how He extended the shadow. So what has been happening here? It's saying that what comes next will not be understood by people like this, those who cannot hear and cannot think. Okay, you have to be able to hear more than what is said. Okay, and think deeper than just the outward. Okay, I haven't looked at the tafsirs of this verse, but I can guess that it's all going to be typical stuff talking about literally the shadow, or shadows, they're pointed this way by the sun, etc., and they move imperceptibly. That's okay, but there is more being said than this. Okay, we have another verse, similar thing. إن شر الدواب عند الله الصم البكم الذين لا يعقلون. Indeed, the worst of living creatures in the sight of Allah are the deaf and the dumb, those who cannot use their reason, who do not use their reason. Okay, so not only can a real human being, experience the realities beyond what we are in, okay, but they can hear and recognize them as well. Okay, we can recognize and we can articulate things beyond. Okay, in some way. Okay, that's part of what makes us human. So going back to the first question, where did God create the creation? Okay, when there was nothing but God, right? Where did God create the creation? When there was nothing but God. Okay, now the best way we can simply, talk about it without inventing too much jargon, you say in Himself. If there was nothing else, then there's the only canvas for God to make the creation on is Himself, right? Because there was nowhere else. There's nothing else. There is no other space outside of God to create anything. And so the creation has always been, and even now is nowhere else. It's nowhere else. It's as it was. Even now, that's where we are. Okay, we are where we were because there was nowhere else for us to go. There was nowhere else for us to be. Okay. And we have, statements which allude to this kind of stuff in the Quran. وَلِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَكَانَ اللَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُحِيطًا. And to God belongs everything that's in the heavens and on the earth, and God was encompassing everything. Okay, بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُحِيطًا. The word here can, sorry, there's a typo. It shouldn't be a ta, it should be can. But also He is. Okay, so there's other verses. أَلَا إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُحِيطٍ. أَلَا, indeed He is now بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُحِيطٍ. Okay. And so the Sufis put all of this in a nice sort of way. Okay, they say Allahu kan wala shay'a ma'ahu. Okay, God was and there was nothing with Him. وَهُوَ الْآنَ عَلَى مَا عَلَيْهِ كَانَ, and He is now just as He was before. Okay, just as He was before, He is now. He hasn't changed. Okay, nothing has changed. So of course, somebody will probably ask point blank, right? And especially if because this sounds like I said. Remember, you have to sort of try to hear more than the words being said. Somebody just look at this and said, "Well, what are you saying? Did God create us in Himself? Are we inside God?" These sort of things, and depending on how you ask this, a person would generally just say, "Okay, no, He didn't," and just end the conversation and walk away. Right, because it's like this person, he can't hear beyond the words. He's deaf, right? If you start to speak in this kind of way to somebody, and all he wants to do is basically say, you kafir, zindiq, what are you trying to say? We are inside God. God is, what are you trying to say? Okay, then you say, no, I'm not saying anything. It's okay. Astaghfirullah, make tawbah, and then just walk away. Because the person's deaf. He can't hear beyond something. He can't think deeply about something. Okay, he just wants to, these hard rules, kufr, iman, and you have to say things in the exact way in this formula. No, there's more. We have to look beyond what we can just say in words, in those kind of words. Okay, but for those who can hear, you can move on with them. Okay, you can actually go back. Okay, and you can be a little more charitable. And then start to say, okay, then let's analyze this a bit more. Okay, well, let's analyze this a bit more. This is all, by the way, this was all part of a script I was going to make a video about, but I never got down to it. So if you start again, think about it again. Okay, it's not all just mumbo jumbo. We're not just talking. We are going to take the concept of God seriously. Okay, if we take the concept of God seriously, then you can ask this kind of question: where does God create what is not Himself? Where? When there's nothing outside of Himself anyway. Okay, how does He do that? where does it separate from himself to? Okay, where does creation come from? Where does it go? Okay, and where is it now? Those sort of things. Where are we? All right. And so, the imagery and analogy, of course, they can be used to help us, get beyond this. They help us to move beyond the words. Okay, and the best imagery, I think, is this verse of the Quran about it. Right? It says, "Alam tara ila rabbika." Do you not see or look to your Lord? Okay, ila rabbika kayfa madda dhil. Very strange. Right? It says, "Do you not look to your Lord? How did He extend the shadow?" Okay, but I thought we're supposed to be looking at our Lord. Why now are we talking about the shadow? Right, what is this? Basically, just to put it down in one way, I'd say this is analogy here is like one of God. Those verses are an analogy of one of God, like taking some of His own light, shining it upon Himself, and casting a shadow. Okay, casting that shadow on Himself as well. Okay, that is what He is doing now. Alam tara ila rabbika kayfa madda dhil. Okay, the dhil here is creation. The dhil here is the creation. Okay, where does creation go, or where is it created? It is created as a shadow on Himself, in that kind of way. If you can get that imagery, so that's what's happening now. Okay, and He is holding that shadow in place. He's holding that shadow in place because He is light, right? He is holding that shadow. He takes off His light, shines it on Himself, and casts that shadow on Himself, and that shadow is a creation. Okay, and He holds it in place. Otherwise, it would vanish because there's no space. Now, a shadow doesn't actually exist on anything, right? There is no space on which there is a shadow. Okay, then it doesn't exist in that kind of way. Sorry, I've just got a pop-up here I want to get rid of. Doesn't want to go away. Okay, and if a shadow vanishes, who can bring it back except God? And so you have this verse in the Quran that says, "Inna Allah yumsiku as-samawati wal-ard an tazula." Truly, God is holding the heavens and the earth, an tazula, so that they don't just vanish. What does that mean? It means that they are something which would be vanishing by their very nature if God was not holding them in place. But God is holding them in place, otherwise they would vanish. وَلَئِنْ زَالَتَا إِنْ أَمْسَكَهُمَا مِنْ أَحَدٍ مِنْ بَعْدِ. And if they were to vanish, who then could hold them back, bring them back, except after Him? إِنَّهُ كَانَ حَلِيمًا غَفُورًا. Okay, so in this kind of way, I think that analogy in the Quran, those two verses, they're talking about how we are nothing but shadows in the end. Okay, God isn't inside His own shadow, yet also where will His shadow land, right? Upon what will it extend when there is nothing else except Him and His light, when there is nowhere except Him. So shadows on the real, that's basically all there is and what we are. Shadows from God, extended by God upon God, and also returning to Him imperceptibly. And that's why the verse goes, first of all it says, وَلَوْ شَاءَ لَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَاكِنًا. If we had wanted, we could made this shadow completely still. Had He willed, He could have made it completely still. The whole of creation unmoving, unchanging, just a block, an eternal thing. Okay, a universe that is still at rest, it never changes, nothing moves. Okay, but it's moving, and He's also bringing it back to Himself. I didn't put everything because I didn't want this to go too long, so there's actually more. I have more thoughts about this on my notes about it, but that brings us back to the very second verse comes after that, right? So it says about how if we had wanted, we could have made this shadow completely still. Then it says ثم جعلنا الشمس عليه دليلا. There's some more to be said about that. I don't want to go into it. But the next verse is what I'm talking about there. ثم قبضناه إلينا قبضا يسيرا. Then this shadow, it will be contracted back to Himself. Okay, so this is another indication that what we're talking about is extending from God Himself. ثم قبضناه إلينا قبضا يسيرا. Then we draw it back to ourselves. We draw it back to ourselves, right? In a sort of imperceptible, smooth, easy way. So in the same way, creation, it issues from God and will go back to God. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. right? We are from God, and to Him we are returning. ثم قبضناه إلينا قبضا يسيرا. Right? The shadow is being taken back to God in sort of slow, imperceptible, subtle stages. Okay? All right, so that's what I wanted to share. I'm not sure if the idea, um, you know, landed with some of you or not. But it's a very interesting set of verses, these two verses, why such verses will be there. They need some thought in this kind of way. And that's my brief contemplation on that. All right, okay. Let's have a look at some of the comments, and then I'll have a look at um, we've got two people in the background ready to come on. I'll bring you on in a minute. Let's go and check if there's anything. I know there's probably a lot in the chat before I was able to come on. Jazakallah khair. Just dropping in Brother Yusuf from Quran Centric. Allah barak feek. Ahabbak Allah kama nahibbak. And Assalamu alaikum Adriana, as always. Yeah, and the mountains keep the earth on its place. All right, okay. That is physics. All right, okay, good. All right, let me bring on Aslam. Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to bring you on, okay?
Yes, Walaikum Assalam. Is my voice
Alaikum
audible?
assalam. Yes, yeah, I can hear you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for addressing that concern about the Lut's daughter thing. I just heard that video today itself, so
Oh,
that was
yeah,
good.
you're welcome.
And it was wonderful that aspect. Usually I have never heard many traditionalists or like religious people discussing that when those people who came to attack, they say that what we want, this thing they have never addressed, that Prophet Lut knew what they wanted or something about that unique aspect, that this thing. So yeah, that was worth pondering. So I in the last session or in the last presentation, the brother who gave a presentation, excellent presentation about Salat. So actually, it was very inspiring, and I felt that even I should contribute something. So I want to contribute something in my perspective about the term taskiya.
Okay, brilliant. Go for it.
So in Quran, the term mentions taskiya. It doesn't mention a person of this background will be successful, that background will be successful. It mentions those who purify themselves. So it's like a continuous self-improvement journey that a human being will take. That kind of a person will be successful, as far as my understanding.
Yeah, that's right. You're talking about the
Continuous
verse. You're talking about the verse قد أفلح من زكاها, right? He's
absolutely, yes,
successful, the one who purifies it. Yeah, about the nafs, about their own soul. Your voice is a bit low. We can hear you clearly, but if you
yeah.
can increase your volume, would be good.
How is it now?
I think a little bit better.
Yeah. All right. So what I feel, there's a strong correlation in what modern terms we can say continuous self-improvement.
Hmm.
So, what are many of the times the self improvement, this journey, what hampers it? Limiting beliefs. People have limiting beliefs about themselves. Let's say they have a belief that I'm a slow learner, or these all things, or like that person cannot be trusted, or he backbites about me. These kind of beliefs over occupies our subconscious mind most of the time, and that hampers our journey towards self improvement. So what Quran mentions is that these all assumptions that we have. So in Quran also mentions that indeed assumption is a sin also. It's some assumption. It doesn't mention that all assumption. Indeed, some assumption is sin. I believe you must have observed that ayat.
Yes, in بعض الظن إثم. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So, and it doesn't like it mentions that assumption doesn't avail nothing against the truth. So, Quran emphasizes that do not follow the like that thing which you do not know. So, whatever faculties that we have, so we can do take evidences whether I observe things properly, whether I observe the pros and cons properly about this thing. or that thing, about any opinion that I form about any particular individual, we can note it down in a paper, because Quran wants us that whether we are grateful to for the skills that God has given, observing skill, listening skills, and these all things. We can all that whether I was properly listening to the person, whether he these all things we can note down. Then we can get a better clarity, because uh, we will be avoiding the satanic whispers, because
Hmm.
it will involve whims and fancies. So Quran mentions that they follow their whims and fancies. But a person who is on a journey of tasya, he will be very objective.
Hmm.
He will make sure that he will note down this thing, any kind of a limitation belief he has. So he will challenge those limiting beliefs with the
Hmm.
God given fact. And God eyes will be questioned, and these all things will be questioned. So it's we can use all this faculty, and then we ask God for guidance in using this faculty, and then forming any opinion about any person, about relation with anyone before like people usually go and backbite and influence. Or doing all these things, we can use our God given faculties, we can and make post which we will realize that how effective as a human being we have become. Like one will observe 1 month back how he was a person, 1 month later how he is a person. So this tasya process, I believe, is a continuous self improvement journey. It has a strong correlation with that, and this kind of individual will be successful. So I
MashaAllah.
just then
Yeah,
in
yes,
this.
no, very, very true, very, very insightful, especially what you're mentioning, especially about, al-hawa and al-dhan, right? So the
Yeah, yeah,
assumptions, and then, following sort of like the desires and these kind of things which are sort of fleeting, right? The hawa, right? It's not things which aren't very stable. They're not very sort of they're not grounded things. They're not real things. They don't have much reality. Okay, the same thing with dhan, right? Assumptions. They're not things which have the reality. And if you hold on to those things which are true, which are definitely true, they're the things which will uplift you in your tazkiyah, right? They're the things which
correct.
will help you improve to it. Whereas those other things, the dhan and the hawa, they can really hamper you down. Yeah, yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the whole, and the you have these sort of like I forget what they're called, but where you take a couple of letters from each word to make something a mnemonic. I think it's called, right, to help you remember. So the Sufis had the mnemonic of nashhad to remind you always about what the things that can hamper you in your tazkiyah. Okay, so they said nashhad is spelled noon, sheen, ha, dal. Right, and the noon, the first one, the biggest enemy, the nafs, okay, because that's what you're trying to purify and uplift, but that's also what will not want to, right? It doesn't want to, right? The nafs. Then the sheen is for shaitan, and then you have the ha for hawa, right, what you mentioned, and then you have the
Yeah.
dal for the dunya, right?
Oh,
And the dhan will be coming from shaitan very often, right?
mhm.
But yeah, very insightful, excellent, brilliant, thank you for that.
Yeah, and because I feel that no individual in that in world will be free of biases. It's just that the proportion of biasness will differ. They will have
Hmm.
all of us, including me and my others, will have some kind of a bias, but the proportion of that will reduce once we start using the God-given faculty in a systematic way. We'll note down any
Yeah.
incident when event become anger. We can note down that this response was like this thing. So inshallah,
Hmm.
this will keep on assisting in our journey, and then uh, the nusrat of God will also come. Inshallah,
Yeah.
through this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Also, I mean, I always try to remind people that God is not looking for. He's not judging people by who gets the right answers and who gets the wrong answers. Right? It's not like a test in a school, right? That
yeah.
who gets the right answers. It's not about about the right or the wrong. It's about you being something which is right and you being something which is wrong. And how you act and how you move about doing things. All right. Um, it's not about just finding the right thing. As they say, right, the the journey more important than the end, and things like that as well. Very important. All right, brilliant. Thank you, Sam. I'm going to bring on.
Also,
Yes, go
can I?
ahead. Something else.
I'm really sorry to bring this again.
No
about
problem.
that.
Go, go.
Allah, you can do a part two of Jihad. What has happened is that one people, they are also moderate, but they are saying that we agreed that there is no offensive jihad, but they said that there is a ayat in the Quran which mentions that God send us some people who are in trouble. They are asking, they are doing a dua. Send us from yourself a person who can like do a rescue or something like that. There is an ayat. So
Yeah.
they said there is offensive jihad also like that they are saying. So they are saying that Quran does not deny offensive jihad. So just want to
That
know
isn't that
your
isn't that isn't that isn't offensive jihad though. This is a request for help, right? From people who are genuinely oppressed and they are asking, please help us, right? People and yes, it's like what people what the West wishes they proclaim they do when they went to liberate Iraq, right? And they want to liberate the people of it. Of course, it's all for them. It's all lies, but for us, it should be the truth, right? It should be that if you are a country which has the means and your neighbor, okay, in that country there are um, you know um, there are people who are oppressed, then you should and they call to you for help. They're calling out, help us. We need help. We are being oppressed. Then you should try to provide them succor and help. Right. So doesn't mean you have to invade the next country, for example. All right. The du'a that those people are making is ربنا أخرجنا من هذه البلدة الظالم أهلها. Oh God, get us out of this land whose people are oppressive. Okay, so
but
what we should do is try to get those people out. Not doesn't mean we have to invade and take over this
yeah,
next country. It's not like that. It's
so but
get those people out.
yeah, but concluding that as an offensive jihad, that may not be appropriate, correct? Someone concludes
Yeah, I
it as
mean,
an
what
offensive.
when they say, I mean, yeah, if you want to describe that as a sort of an offensive jihad, I suppose you could, but the problem is that this term offensive jihad it generally means for the people who say it, it means that they go out to any people, whether they have oppressed people or not, whether they are fighting or not, whether they have truce or not, you know, like Egypt, they had a truce with the Prophet. The Prophet had actual written them a actual covenant of protection, right? And then the Muslim armies come and the general tears it up. When the leader of Egypt sends it to him, he tears it up, right? Amr ibn al-As, he tears it up, and there's a mosque now named after him in Egypt. Anyway, um, so for somebody to do that, that's what they mean by offensive. They mean that we go to a place and we give them free options. Either they become Muslim, or they take the jizya, or they fight. That's what they mean by offensive jihad. Okay.
All
No, that's not.
all right.
If there's options, the for in the situation that you're talking about, the option should be okay. Please, either it should be stop oppressing those oppressed people, or let them leave. Let them come to us. Let them seek asylum with us. Okay,
Actually,
that
they were
sort of thing.
reference of this ayat. That's the reason why. They were not
Sorry, say
saying
it
it as.
again.
I was saying they were giving reference of this ayat.
Yeah, but they're
But
given the reference of his ayah and while ignoring what the ayah says. The ayah is about people calling out in distress and saying, please get us out of this country. It's not saying, please send people to come and invade this country and take it over.
all right, all right,
Okay,
all right.
it's those people who want to leave the land of oppression.
Okay.
Okay, but they can't. Right? مستضعفون. Okay, they're trampled upon. And they want to leave a place of oppression, but they are not being allowed to.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah, right.
these people, yes, well, they should be helped if you can. But that doesn't mean you take you go and invade a country which is more just than you are, and then make it less just than you are.
Absolutely.
So
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Thank you.
you have to be careful when a lot of these people they just want to they would when somebody quotes a verse to you, you have to really read it carefully. What is this verse saying? It's not just I will say something and I quote a verse, and some people get dazzled by that. All right. I remember one time
Correct.
in Saudi, there was somebody who was telling me about the book of how great the book of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab is. And I said, what's great about it? He said, look, everything he says, he gives a verse to back it up. He says, this is the opinion, and this is the verse to back it up. This is the opinion. This is verse to back it up. I said, but are you actually reading what the verse is saying, and reading what he's saying, and seeing if it links? You don't be dazzled by that. Right? Just somebody say something, and because of this verse, okay, look at the verse. Look at the verse,
Yes.
what it says. Right? That verse is talking about those who are oppressed and who are asking to be able to leave. They are saying, "Rabbana akhrijna, get us out of this place." What does that got to do with offensive jihad of invading another country?
Mhm.
No,
Correct,
it's
correct.
not. It's not related.
Yes, and as you rightly said that we have to observe it, these ayat, because God will ask us about how we use our facilities, God-given facilities, about hearing and observing how we use it.
Yeah,
I think,
that's right.
yeah,
All right. Okay. Let me bring
and
on the
yeah,
next person because we have two others waiting. Jazakallah. Thanks again, Aslam, as always. And
program.
inshallah,
Yeah,
see
thank
you
you.
soon. Okay. Salam. Okay. We have Hector. And then afterwards, we're going to have Iron Man on again. Assalamu alaikum, Hector.
Walaikum salam. How are you doing?
I'm good. How have you been?
Alhamdulillah, shukran. Very interesting presentation that you had today. I at least for me it was. Um, I never. I mean, it's coming from a philosophy background. I kind of just start thinking about things like that may be concerning theology, and that when you mentioned that part, I think it was where was God when He created us. I don't know if I understood that correctly. Um, And then what I did understand though was the part of the shadow that we
Mm.
are Allah's shadow. Because the first thing that came to my mind when you said that, it's like, okay, can we just be thoughts, the thought of God? Because there are some religions that would profess that all we really are is just God's thought.
Yeah, in the mind of God. Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
I've heard that as well. The reason why I prefer, I consider this to be the sort of the Quranic analogy for that, right? For
Oh,
the
okay,
for the
okay.
idea of creation. Okay, it's a this idea of a shadow is better than the idea of that we are God's thoughts and stuff, because in the end, the analogy doesn't work as well, because to say that we are thoughts, we are God's thoughts, like, okay, God is just thinking us, so we are
Yeah,
basically the actions of him in that kind of way, right? Um,
exactly.
all right. The whereas a shadow of something is more separate from the thing. It's more separate from the thing.
See, but isn't that almost the same thing as what Ibn Arabi used to teach?
He had the well. It's been he never actually used the term. I think
No, I
the
don't think he used
the
the term, but Mhm.
wahdat al wujud and stuff, which has been
Yes.
said for him. He had, I think, wahdat al shuhud. Right. I don't remember because I
No,
used to.
that was Surhindi.
That was for Hindi.
Yes.
Sihrwildi or Sindhi. Sihrwildi or
Surhindi,
Wirdi or
Surhindi, I think his name.
okay.
Yeah, Ahmed
That's,
Surhindi, if I remember
okay.
correctly.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, well, he never used the term of wahdat wujud, right, in Arabic, but that's basically what the idea has been come down to. But what was meant by that is just that God is completely one. It's sort of what I was saying in the beginning, all right. That if you think about it in terms of um, the part that you said you didn't quite get, it's if you try to think about before creation. Okay, before creation, where was God and where was creation? Okay, so where was God, and then where did He create the creation? Where did it come into being?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, it's see, because being a human being, I still think within third dimension.
exactly. We it doesn't come naturally, right, to think of it in this kind of way. When we think of somebody creating something, we think of somebody in one place, okay, and there's space next to him somewhere. There's a workbench for him to work on. There's something for him to work on, right? And he makes his creation there. Okay, that's the three-dimensional way of thinking it, right? But
Yes.
the issue when we're talking about before that even, right? There was only God. When you say there was only God, that means there was literally only, there was no nothing around him He wasn't God's in space. God wasn't sort of there in space, and then there was around him space in which to create things. You see what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So it's again, it's what we were talking about before. It's trying to see beyond just the words, okay, in a way that we are able to see, I think, to understand, because of our humanity, because of the ruh inside us. All right, even though trying to bring it into articulate it into concrete words, okay, it doesn't work because the words we have are come out from this world, right? The words that we have, they spring out from this material world that we're in, right? But our spirits are descended from a different world. That's why we can understand that. We can make that link, okay? Somebody can speak using the material temporal words, okay, in a way where they are indicating something higher, and somebody else who is able to hear higher things in those words, they can follow, right? They can follow in that kind of way. Um, so yeah,
So
no, that's
I'm pretty sure it's like the way I'm understanding it is that it's something that the mind can't capture.
yeah. I mean,
So
it can't capture it in a way where I don't think it can capture it in a way where if you say it, will ever be correct. You know, you won't be able to say it in a way where you can say, okay, that's correct. Okay, that's why you use imagery and analogy. So this verse, like that's how I see it. Right? I mean, why is this verse in the Quran? Why is God saying, "Alam tara ila rabbika kayfa madda dhil"? Do you not look towards your Lord how He has extended the shadow? Why? Why is that in the Quran? وَلَوْ شَاءَ لَجَعَلُهُ سَاكِنًا. And if He had wanted, He could have made it still. Then we made the sun for it a pointer. Then we drew it into ourselves. ثُمَّ قَبَضْنَاهُ إِلَيْنَا قَبْضًا يَسِيرًا. Does the shadow get drawn back into God? Have you ever seen a shadow
yeah,
go back
no, it
into God?
doesn't. I mean,
Okay.
no, I
So
can't.
so
I mean,
so
yeah.
so what is this talking about? Okay, again, it's something that you're supposed to be able to see a bit more deeper into this. Okay, it's supposed to indicate something. Okay, which is very difficult to understand. Okay, something which if you were to say it explicitly, no matter how you say it explicitly, it will be wrong because the words can't fit. It can't fit into the words. You see what I mean? So
Yes.
use imagery, use imagery. So that's why, I like I said, I see this as being sort of an analogy of God um, extending the shadow on Himself and then drawing it back on Himself in that kind of way. God taking His own light, shining it on Himself, and casting a shadow on Himself, and that shadow is the creation.
The shadows, the creation.
Yeah, the shadow is
Yes.
the creation. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Some
that shadow
see.
could. Yeah, go
Continue.
ahead. Yeah, no, and that shadow could, its nature is disappearing. It's something which, if God doesn't hold, it will go away. Why would that be? Right? Why does God say He holds the heavens and the earth so that they don't vanish? Why would they vanish? What would make them vanish? Okay, they would vanish because in the end they're shadows, right? They're shadows, and He is light. He is nur samawati wal ard. Right? And if it wasn't for Him holding that shadow into place, it would just disappear. Just disappear.
But that note that you mentioned just now, that it's in Surah, I forgot what surah it is. That
Yeah,
Allah is the light. Excuse me.
Surah An-Nur, yeah.
Surah An-Nur. Yeah.
Mm.
I usually just used to take that more as guidance.
Mm. Well, yeah, I
Yes.
mean, of course, I mean, that the analogy, that deserves its own thing, right? I think Ghazali did a very good, he has a whole treatise on that, right?
Yeah, I've read the translation.
Mishkat al-Anwar,
Yes.
where he talks just about that verse, okay? And that verse can be read in many different ways, but I'm just saying that, in many other verses, God says that He's the light, right?
Yes, he
Allah
is.
nuru samawati wal ard. Okay, so it's just in that kind of way. He is the light of the heavens and the earth in that kind of way.
Yeah.
No.
It's interesting that you bring this up because a few weeks ago I was in a, I guess you could say like a gathering
Mm.
of. I have a friend of mine who is in charge of an Ibn Arabi society here in Colombia.
Yeah.
And I mean, I go to that, but then I feel like, I don't know, I just don't like I guess I don't get it, so I'm trying not to like shun it or anything, but I just don't get it. I think it's just very, very complex for me right now to understand. And when you mentioned this, I was like, it brought me back to those.
Going back to that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these, I mean, remember one thing, always keep this in mind as well, that, as we grow, as we just get older, we start to see, there are some things that you just start to see as you get older, right? There are things which, just
Yes.
not, you're not gonna see, at a younger age. There are things in life which you just don't understand. The only way you understand them is through experience. It's through getting, becoming older and stuff, and then you start to see things more. You have start to have a sort of a deeper appreciation of things. See things beyond, their face value, and that's just how it is. I mean, try to, all of those people who are speaking about that in that thing that you're talking about, when they were, 10 years ago, they would probably went over their heads as well, and you just eventually, you leave things as to go on. I mean, people need to be have that kind of foresight just about themselves, that, there are things that you don't get until, you can, it will take a long time for things to open up in that kind of way for you. Right? You can take things, a 20-year-old, 25 years old, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to see as you would do when you're 30 or 40.
Yeah.
There's a
I'm
nice,
almost 50, so.
yeah. Well, there's that nice statement of what's not Ibn anybody, Ibn Ali, I suppose. No, Muhammad Ali, right? Muhammad Ali, he says what? He says, person sees the world at who sees the world at what is it, at 40 or something. I'll just pick numbers here. The person who sees the world at 40 the same way he did when he was 20 has wasted 20 years of his life,
Wow.
right? That, you develop, and it's not always, um, you're not always going to see everything. I mean, people have different aptitudes in these kind of things. There are some people that have very good sort of what's it called, they can think abstractly more, and others can't, right? Some have
Yes.
like they can see, for example, in maths, right? You can
Mhm.
see the numbers easily, right? How they relate to each other. Others can't, right? Some people can see the beats in the music, right? Some people can't,
Yes,
right?
some people can. Yes.
Yeah, so it comes into a varied thing, but it's just, I mean, it's something which I mean, I'm not sure, I don't know, if, to be honest, if anybody has looked at these verses in these kind of way. Sometimes I say to myself, yeah, of course, somebody's probably thought of something like this, but at the same time, sometimes from experience and seeing um, some other things which are obvious in the Quran, which I'm sure nobody has pointed out.
Yeah.
I think to myself, again, probably nobody has, but who knows? But that's part of what the Quran is. That's why I want to keep this stream sort of like open for anybody to come on and share any contemplation they want. Right? Some of it will not fit for me. I won't get it, I'm sure.
Yeah, of
Right?
course, of course, of
And
course.
so the Quran was ذكر للعالمين, right, for the whole of the alameen, right? So that means it will encompass everybody in the alameen. Okay, but not
Yeah.
everybody in the alameen, not every person in it will be able to encompass the whole of the alameen themselves, right? You're not going to be able to see it all, right?
Yes, true.
So it's a normal thing. It's a normal thing. The variety of humanity, right?
It is. It is. Well, yeah, I mean, so people aren't going to become Muslims. So,
Well,
yeah.
well, they don't have to become Muslims.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I guess what I mean to say is that they'll probably be presented with it, but they just don't get it.
Yeah,
You know,
that's fine.
they
I
just
mean,
won't.
the common word call in the Quran, which the Prophet is commanded to give to the Ahlul Kitab, right? It doesn't include believing in him to be a prophet. It doesn't include faith that he is a prophet. It just says, قُلْ يَا أَهْلَ الْكِتَابِ تَعَالُوا إِلَى كَلِمَةٍ سَوَاءٍ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمْ, come to a common word between us and you, that we don't serve any but Allah, and that we don't take each other as gods
True.
besides Allah, and if they accept that, then they say, if they turn away from that, then say that bear at least that we at least are Muslims. If they, that means
Yes.
if If they were to just accept that, they would be Muslim, all right? Yeah,
Interesting. I never
and
really thought of that way.
yeah, and belief in the Prophet is not part of that list. It's not part
Well,
of
you
that
know,
list.
mhm.
Yeah, that's it. Just it's not part of that common word. It's
That
not
what?
part of that common
Yes,
word.
yes. I just wanted to correct myself. One thing, you're right. It is Ahmed Sir Hindi, not Sur Hindi,
Hmm.
of the Wahdat Ash-Shahud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all. Yeah.
And if I can just have like 5 more minutes of your time, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, I last week I was in my Quranic class with one of my friends, and we came across the word. We're reading Surah Al-Baqarah 207, and we
Mm-hmm.
came across the word Ra'uf, right? Ra'uf. Now,
Rauf, yes.
yes, the way that he translated is I don't know, maybe because it's in Spanish and he was just trying to have the other people understand. He
Mm.
translated as compassion.
Mm.
Translated compassion. Or compassionate. The compassionate.
Mm.
Allah is the compassionate. My question is this: so what would be the difference between Rahim and Rauf? Being because it seems that both words are kind of translated as compassion.
Mm. Yeah, no,
Kind
they
of.
are both. They are both translated as compassion. Rauf, I think it's. I need to remember this, but I think Rauf comes more from sort of like this sort of like the compassion of like where it's like it's more emotional. It's like it's like in your heart. you know it's like really like you it's like this when your heart bleeds for somebody, that kind of compassion, right? Whereas the rahma is more something which is it's more active, more physical, right? It's compassion, it's how you behave to somebody in that kind of your behavior, how you respond and do right in that merciful way. Okay, that's why rahma also comes from rahim, right? Rahim, the womb, right? The links of the womb, right?
Yes.
It's how a mother is how she will always behave to her child, right? She's always taking care of it, making sure no harm comes to it, right? She's active around her child. Okay,
Hmm.
that mercy of being active around the child, right? Whereas the ra'fa is more sort of like in the heart, sort of just that feeling inside, right, of being really thing. So that's why, for example, the Prophet is mentioned in those last two verses of Surah Tawbah, right? And I know some of the some Muslims now, of course, they don't accept those two are part of the Quran, but let's just take them as Arabic, okay? So it says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ, there has come to you a messenger from among yourself, عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ. It's big on him that you are that you find things difficult. عزيز عليه ما عنتم, that you go into trouble or difficulty. He finds that difficulty. حريص عليكم. He's really concerned about you, right? بالمؤمنين, to the believers, he is رؤوف رحيم, right? رؤوف رحيم. So those two words, رؤوف رحيم, they mirror what's said before that, right? That عزيز عليه ما عنتم, it's grievous to him inside himself that you should come to harm. Right, that's the ra'fa, that's ra'uf. And then harisun alaykum, like he's actively wanting to make sure that the best comes for you. Okay, that's rahim.
So he's working towards the best for you, basically.
Yeah. I mean, harisun alaykum is sort of like I said, like how a mother will look after her child to make sure nothing bad comes to it.
Yes,
Okay?
exactly.
To be
Exactly.
that's haris. Okay, you're really concerned about somebody you're watching, and you're actively around that person, trying to make the best come for them, right?
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
that's sort
That
of
reminds me. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's more of the rahmah, right? That's why Allah says it's Bismillahir Rahman Rahim, right? God is
Yes.
mostly that's mostly repeated, right? Whereas Ra'fa is more about just the feeling of compassion inside, the inner feeling of compassion.
Yes, I
Does
think
that make
that's
sense?
because I studied a little bit of Buddhism, and one thing that they teach in Buddhism is to have compassion, but I think it's the compassion of Rafa. the way you mentioned it. Yes.
Yeah.
Could you please tell me again the surah?
That has those. It's talking about the prophets.
Yes.
It's the last two verses of Surah 9, Surah At-Tawbah.
Surah Tawbah,
Yeah.
the last two verses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna study that last two verses. I'm just writing that down. Give me one more, please.
No,
Okay.
no problem.
All right. That's very interesting presentation you had today. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem.
Inshallah, we'll see each other next week.
That's fine. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. Take care.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, I mean that presentation was very sort of esoteric, and very heavy. I suppose a lot of people might not agree with it or get it or anything. But I thought I'd put it out, especially since this is the half-year anniversary, I suppose, for this stream. We've done, like I said, this is the 26th stream. So another 26, and we've done 1 year. All right, okay. Is there anything in the chat before I bring on Iron Man? There's a lot being said in the chat. I don't think I can follow it, to be honest. Let me add Iron Man. Assalamu alaikum, Iron Man again. And I see he has a presentation for us. Excellent. Assalamu alaikum. Oops, let me remove this, my screen share. There we go. And my apologies for my new baby daughter crying in the background. Assalamu alaikum, Iron Man. We can't hear you yet. Are you there? Hello, Iron Man? He was in the chat earlier, so I don't know what's happened. Maybe he got logged out of his computer or it shut down or something. Assalamu alaikum, Iron Man, are you there? Okay, let's look through the chat while we give him some time to come on. In Portuguese, God is the most merciful and the one who gives mercy to the heart. MashaAllah, I like that, yes. Yeah, Ibrahim was very... Inna Ibrahim la halimun awwahun halim, right? He was awwah. And he was forbearing. Okay, I'm just going through the chat. If anybody has anything they wrote in the chat, which I didn't see, just copy and paste it back again. Can you elaborate more on where God's shadow might land? Like I was saying, there's nowhere for it to land except on Him, right? Remember, this is all just analogy. It's all just analogy, okay? Think of it in terms of like a painter on a canvas, right? Right, a painter creates a painting on a canvas. Okay, if we take the analogy to God, there is no canvas. There's no space for a canvas. There is only God. So it's painted on Himself in that kind of way. All right, okay. I think Iron Man is back now. He left and came back. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Iron Man.
Testing.
Yes, there we go. We can hear you.
Okay, bro, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Because I can't hear you anymore. Let me try this.
Yes, we can hear you. Let's put it in the chat for him. Yeah, we can hear you.
I think I've got you there.
Can hear you
Hello,
now.
testing.
Yes, we can hear you now.
No, you know what? You're breaking up.
Well, no problem. You're loud and clear. You are clear.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you now,
Clear.
but you're breaking up.
So you're clear. So go for it. So go for it. See the chat.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll refresh my browser and try logging in again.
All right. Okay. He's going to refresh his browser and try logging in again. And we have a nice comment. To point Adriana, to remember Allah is to relive the truly godly life as it was before we came here. Relive and re-experience may be a better term than remember. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can add Iron Man again. Assalamu alaikum. I think he's taken some time. Okay. He's muted. You're muted, but we have you back on. Shall I unmute you? All right, there we go. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear us? I could hear a little bit of you. Hello? I can't hear you, to be honest. Before we could hear you clearly, and I'm not sure if you can hear us now, but next time, well, if we can hear you again, just check the chat, and then if we can hear you, just go ahead through what you want to show us, rather than waiting for next week, if we can get that done. So can you hear us clearly? If you can, just say so in the chat. Nope, he's muted. Can you unmute? Okay. All right, let's see. Just check on the chat again. If it doesn't work, Iron Man, it's okay. We can leave this for next week, right? There's no hurry. Okay, he's back. Let's see. Third time a charm. Was this the third time? Hello, assalamu alaikum. We can't hear you yet again. I don't know if you can hear us. Okay, we sort of heard something there. All right, okay, Ayman, I think we'll leave it for now. If that's okay with you, just say so in the chat. You can show us what you want to show us next week. Is that all right? I don't know if he has access to his chat, but I'm not gonna close it until we get a confirmation from him. Sorry guys, having some problems. Yes, no problem, Ayman, it's fine. Okay, yeah, next week inshallah, yeah. We'll leave it for next week. It's fine, these things happened to me in the beginning of today's for some reason. I think I'm gonna need to try and upgrade and get a better system soon. All right, if anybody has, let me just remove Ayman from that stream. I don't think there's anybody else waiting to come on. Is there anything, anybody has something in the chat you want to say? If not, I think we'll end it there. And if this presentation sort of you found a bit too sort of esoterical, no problem. You can come on next week and give us something more grounded. How about that? All right, okay, so I think we'll end it there. And just a reminder again, alhamdulillah, this has been now, like I said, half a year we've been doing this. We haven't missed a week. And we've had a lot of good contributions. And, please try to get anybody else who's willing to come on and contribute something, That's the whole point of these streams. Remind them, you can tell them, and, sort of put them at ease. This is not, it's not for, you know, debating what they present, or, you know, trying to like you know, judge it or anything like that. It's just really this stream is just for trying to promote contemplation of the Quran. So, you know, anything goes from anybody, all right, as long as it's trying to contemplate the Quran. Okay, all right, okay. Sorry, I'm gonna have to close it now. I can see there's a hearty discussion going on in the chat, but really have to end it now. So assalamu alaikum, and see you all again next time, inshallah.